Hi witches, so we are back to talking tarot. If I didn't mention it in the last video, I just wanted to, again, shout out Selena. Thank you so much for becoming a patron. I really appreciate it. And if you are interested in having your cards read by me, check it out. So anyways, the card we're talking about today is the Hanged Man. So the Hanged Man is a figure that we see depicted as hanging upside down from a living tree. And he is viewing the world from a completely different perspective than everybody else, and especially all of the figures in the tarot. If you notice, his face isn't really like distorted or anything. He kind of looks like gleeful. He's just kind of like chilling. So it can be assumed that he's actually hanging like this voluntarily. He's often depicted as having a halo, and that represents enlightenment and new insight that he's gained from his strange new position. And he is basically, like, this card specifically is a card of ultimate surrender. It is the card of being suspended in time and of sacrifice to the greater good. So it's all about, you know, looking at things differently and figuring out a new way to frame a situation. Like we always do with this series, let's talk about it within the context of a reading. So upright, the Hanged Man represents surrender and letting go to, you know, unchangeable things that may be happening in your life. And like the previous cards, it's kind of like a perspective shift and a need to release control in order to get to the next step in your life. When reversed, this card points to maybe an unforeseen delay, indecision in regards to important decisions in your life, and resistance to change. So that's kind of been the theme for the reversal of the last couple cards that we've talked about. Every couple cards is kind of a tone shift. So when we looked at the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, and the Hierophant, it was all about like teaching that foundational knowledge that you need in order to like carry on with your journey. It was kind of like the tutorial, right? Or like childhood. When we look at, you know, the Lovers, Chariot, Strength, the Hermit, we are all taught to be like introspective and work on ourselves and our relationship with the world around us, right? So we have the foundational knowledge, now we know about ourselves. The Wheel of Fortune really speaks to a third tone shift, and that card, along with Justice, and again with the Hanged Man, speaks to surrendering to the universe. So we've looked in on ourselves, and now we're looking externally and just like are like, whoa, what? I can't control everything outside of me. And these cards are kind of like, no, you can't. But you know what you can do? Just go with the flow. You know, look at things from a new perspective. So we learned the foundation, we learned about ourselves and what we want, and now we're learning how to, you know, relinquish that like unhealthy sense of control. And I really think that's a really beautiful story in the cards. And I think this really mirrors the natural patterns of life. Like I was talking about, like childhood, like teenage years, and now adulthood, where we're like, wait, what do you mean I have to do this? Like, what, what, taxes, what is that? Capitalism, get rid of it. Like, you know, so that's kind of how I am interpreting the various like shifts within the cards. With regard to the Hanged Man, this is not a card I see a lot in my own readings. I know I keep saying that. I generally see minor arcana, and most people do because a tarot deck is majority minor arcana. But I see it as a card that begs you to reevaluate what you're doing. It's like, please just stop and let's turn it on its head and maybe we'll figure it out. So to me, I kind of see the figure in the Hanged Man card almost like, I don't know if this is right, and if you are a Norse pagan, I'm sorry, but I kind of see the figure of Odin in the Hanged Man. This is very condensed, but essentially to gain knowledge of other realms and the ability to interpret runes and perform magic, Odin hung himself from Yggdrasil, the world tree, for 9 days. He hung himself to gain new clarity and new perspective, and while Odin did this literally, that like way more literally than what is depicted in this card, like he like hung himself by a tree, I just really associate those two, and I hope you guys can kind of follow the logic. Like I just see like this story of Odin, like, you know, being the Hanged Man and gaining new perspective and new knowledge as like, do you see the similarities? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I'm sorry, my brain is like firing off in a million different directions. Yes. So it's more of just like a good way, like that story is just like how I remember the meaning of the Hanged Man card when I am reading for other people, so that way I'm not just like, oh yeah, you know. So it's just like another little association or touch point that maybe you can use to remember the meanings. So I wanted to pass that one right along to you. And I hope this helps y'all as it has helped me, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.